Hello, 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 wherever you are on our mesmerizing planet called Earth. I hope you are having a phenomenal day, evening, or night, wherever you are located. Welcome to my Bible channel. If you're atheist or you're agnostic, I welcome you to stay because this information may be educational to you. Before I begin, my title says it all. How did Jesus look? Let me say it again. How did Jesus look? We know many times, countlessly, whenever we see a historian talking about Jesus, they always say we don't know how he looked. Now I can't tell you exactly how his face looked. I can't pick Jesus out from John Doe or Jane Doe. I can't pick him out. But the Bible does give you clues. They don't even go that far. They don't even say the Bible give us clues to how he looked. They just say 100% we don't know. And they stop right there. Now, the good thing for you, for us, you good people who listening, I read the Bible since I was the age of 13. And you can see now the way I'm talking. I don't seem like I'm no 13-year-old anymore. I read the Bible many times over, and I'm still reading it. I'm on the book of Revelation right now. And when I read the Bible, I read it from cover to cover, chapter to chapter. I don't jump around, poke around. I read from Genesis to Revelation since I was 13, so I got some understanding of the Bible. So I am a person who can talk about how Jesus looked. And I especially can talk because I have a degree in a scientific field. My degree is in the scientific field, or the foundation of the scientist. I'm not going to tell you what it is, but without my major in college, no science would exist. So I do have a logical mind to a point. So I'm not going to be no religious guru just screaming out how Jesus looked. I'm using the actual Bible scriptures to give an idea how he looked. And how the Hebrews look, because it's not just how Jesus looked, it's how the Israelites look in Hebrews. And I don't like to say the word Jews. No. Back in Jesus' time and before Jesus, they never said the word I'm a Jew. From what I read in the Bible, they say I'm a descendant of Abraham, or I'm a Hebrew, or I'm an Israelite. That word Jew is a modern thing. Back in the biblical time, let me say it again, they either say I'm a descendant of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, or they say I'm a Hebrew, or they say I'm an Israelite. And the word Jew is only listed at least 20 times in the Bible. That's it. All right, so let's begin. Now, my first thing, I'm going to show you how the Egyptians look. Everybody have seen this picture. It's of Queen Nefertiti. We see that she's brown looking. Brown. Not jet black. Brown. Many parts of the world, I'm not going to say what they would call her. Many parts of the world, just by you being brown, they'll give you a designation. We see she got brown. She got thick lips. And she has a wide nose. Her nose is not pointy like some people from a certain part of the world. That's the first one. So the Egyptian, she's a full-blooded Egyptian, I believe. And we see how she look. Brownish. Here's another Egyptian. And on all my pictures, I didn't use no picture on the wall. I ain't use none of that. I use actual 3-dimensional bust. Once more, you see the lady got big juicy lips, and she got a wide nose, and the shape of her head look like I don't want to say no classifications on here, but you see the shape of her head, you know where she is just by looking at her. Just by looking at her. She's brownish. In this case, a dark brown. My next bust of a man. Look at him. Look at this man. He look like some people who I know right now. You probably recognize him too. He probably look like some people who you know right now. Once more, brownish, blackish, because of the wood, because of the material they use. But the default color is brownish, and a crown of gold. So there's a distinction between his color and that crown. The crown or the royal insignia is goldish, and he is brownish with black eyes, big lips, wide nose, brown skin, an Egyptian. Here's an Egyptian. I recognize that hairstyle. I'm not going to tell you who have it, but you should recognize it too. And yeah, she looks white looking, but look closely where my mouse pointing at, because over time, you know how time can make you look lighter. Right here, up in this cheek part is brown. Right in this neck, she's brown. Her lips are big or juicy. Her nose is wide. That's the Egyptian. Brown skin right here. She could have been weather worn, or as I heard some people in the archaeology field, they like to lighten things up. That's what I heard. I don't have the proofs, but I heard that they like to lighten some images up. All right, here's another person. We see distinctly this person is dark. He is dark, and there's no mistake about it. He's dark, and his insignia is a different color. He got nice lips, wide nose. And also, before people start complaining, before I did this, I just looked at some of the Greek busts. 90% of the Greek bust was all a certain color, lights, light. And some of them was dark, but the ones that was dark, the whole bust was dark. The jewelry was dark. The skin was dark. The hair was dark. The eyes was dark. On those Greek busts that was dark, they made the jewelry dark. They made the insignia on the head dark. Everything was dark. But we see with this Egyptian, we know this is his color right there. And the other stuff got a different color, and it like a little snake thing up there is a sort of gold. All right, so we got an idea from actual 3D bust, not drawn on a wall. The 3D bust that's over 1,000 years old, that cannot have been tampered with. Some of it has been tampered with, but these that haven't been tampered with. We know how the Egyptians look. So don't say yabba yabba yabba, abba dabba do. You know, we got a good idea. And I didn't just use one bust. I used 5 of them. 5. Let's get into the scriptures now. This coming from Genesis chapter 38, verse 1. Now Joseph had been taken down to Egypt. So Joseph is going to Egypt. Potiphar, an Egyptian, we got an idea here how he probably looked, who was one of Pharaoh's officials, the captain of the guard, brought him from the Ishmaelites, who had taken him there. Now Joseph was built, so I just added that in there extra to let you give you an idea how Joseph looked. Joseph was a well-constructed man and handsome, and after a while, his master's wife took notice of Joseph and said, "Come to bed with me." The issue with this is Joseph's brothers sold him to the Egyptians. The Hebrew people at that time knew who the Egyptians was. Now, and here's my point. Now, it is a lot of mingling between different ethnic groups today. It's a lot of mingling because we have airplanes and cars. Just 500 years ago, not 2,000, 500 years ago, there was no mingling. There was no moving around. You was with your color. You was with your ethnic group. A Japanese, all he saw was a Japanese and Asians. Every now and then he probably saw an Indian, but that was rare. A typical Indian person, the typical Indian person, all 500 years ago, all they saw from their birth to their death was Indian people. They didn't see no Africans. They didn't see no Asians. They didn't see no Europeans. 500 years ago, that's it. You only saw your ethnic group. That was it. So if these people was Egyptians, Joseph probably looked like the Egyptians of the people who he was familiar with. Remember what I told you, just a mere 500 years ago. The American Indians, all they dealt with was American Indians. Everybody looked the same. 500 years ago in Europe. Europeans, they only familiarized with Europe's. The normal European on the street never saw African, never saw Indian, never saw Mexican. Remember, 500 years ago, people associated with people who look just like them. And this 21st century is different because we have airplanes and cars. That's the first one. Joseph was familiar. Joseph and his brother, they was familiar with the Egyptians. When they saw the Egyptians, they was not afraid. They did not run. They recognized the Egyptians because they was people who they was familiar with. All right, let's keep going. This comes from Genesis chapter 12, verse 10 to 16. Now there was a famine in the land, and Abraham went down to Egypt to live there for a while because the famine was severe. So here we go. Abraham did not go to Egypt for vacation. He did not go there for 5 days or 2 weeks. No, it said he went to Egypt to live. So that means he's familiar with the Egyptians. And if this 3,000 years ago, and he did it with those Egyptians, how did Abraham probably look? He said to his wife Sarah, I know what a beautiful woman you are. When the Egyptians see you, they will say, this is his wife. Then they will kill me, but let you live. Say you are my sister, so that I will be treated well for your sake, and my life will be separated from you. So Abraham didn't want to die, and we don't hear that much. Sarah was a very beautiful woman. And remember, they was up in years too. He wasn't no 20-year-old, 30-year-old man. He was about 80 years old. When Abram came to Egypt, the Egyptians saw that Sarah was a very beautiful woman. So the Egyptians, how did she look? How did she look? Abraham was familiar with the Egyptians. He went to live with the Egyptians. 3,000 years ago, people didn't have no jet airplanes to be jumping from place to place. You usually saw the people who look like you all your life. And when Pharaoh's officials saw her, they praised her to Pharaoh, and she was taken to his palace. He treated Abraham well for her sake, and Abram acquired sheep and cattle, male and female donkeys, male and female servants, and camels. They was very hospitable because they thought, well, she was his sister, but Pharaoh wanted her because she was an extremely beautiful woman. The point is, 3,000 years ago, people only had camels and horses to move around. They ain't go jumping from place to place suddenly. Abraham went to live with the Egyptians. He talked to the Egyptians. He knew the Egyptians. So what was he like? Was he similar to the Egyptians? In dress, mannerism, looks? This is Hebrews chapter 11, verse 24. But by faith, Moses, when he became of age, refused to be called the son of Pharaoh's daughters. Huge. Pharaoh's daughter was an Egyptian. Moses was called her son. He didn't want to be called her son. Now, if he was going to be the Pharaoh's daughter's son, how did he look? Now I'm going to give an example right here. I like to say the mere 500 years ago. The Queen of Britain would not call Indian man or woman her son or daughter. Tell me I'm wrong right there. A mere 300 years ago, when India was a subject to the United Kingdom, they would not dare, the royal family in England, they would not dare call an Indian man or woman their son or daughter. So how did Moses have to look? And she knew he was a Hebrew to become her son. How did Moses have to look? Pure logic. Like I said, most of them said we don't know how they look. I tell you, a lot of them people get on TV and say we don't know. They just say let's put two and two together. They don't give you no clues or no nothing. At least I'm giving some clues. This comes from Exodus chapter 2. This is more about Moses now. Then Pharaoh's daughter went down to the Nile to bathe, and her attendants were walking along the riverbank. She saw the basket among the reeds and sent her female slave to get it. She opened it and saw the baby. It just said a baby. It didn't say how he looked. He was crying, and she felt sorry for him. This is one of the Hebrew babies, she said. So I guess his wrappings, because I know the mother didn't just put him in the basket with no wrappings. She didn't just put him in the basket bare. She at least wanted to protect him and keep him warm. Then his sister asked Pharaoh's daughter, "Shall I go and get one of the Hebrew women to nurse the baby for you?" "Yes, go," she answered. So the girl went and got the baby's mother. Pharaoh's daughter said to her, "Take this baby and nurse him for me, and I will pay you." Oh, so they're a lot different than in this country. In this country, a certain ethnic group raised the people babies and didn't get 1 cent. In the country where I live at, the poor people who was mistreated here raised the majority people children and didn't get 1 cent. Pharaoh's daughter said, "I will pay you to raise this boy." So the woman took the baby and nursed him. When the child grew older, she took him to Pharaoh's daughter, and he became her son. She named him Moses, saying, "I drew him out of the water." So once more, she said, "This is my son, my flesh, my blood, my DNA." We saw how those Egyptians looked brownish looking, dark looking. So how did Moses look? Like I said, those people on TV, those historians, they'll never want to say stuff like this. They never do. They never do. They want something to be in their face profoundly. You have to read between the lines and use simple logic and historical facts. This is coming from Acts chapter 8, verse 27. And he arose and went, and behold, a man of Ethiopia. See, another African nation, not just Egypt. The Bible talks about a lot of African nations, but whoever tell you us that? Whoever tell you that? Africa is all throughout the Bible. Europe not in the Bible, and may be mentioned 1 or 2 times. India may be mentioned 1 or 2 times, but Africa is mentioned from Genesis to the book of Revelation. And he arose and went, and behold, a man of Ethiopia, a eunuch of great authority, so he had some power, under Candace, queen of the Ethiopians, who had the charge of all her treasure, and had come to Jerusalem to worship. So here, more than likely, is an Israelite, a Hebrew. He came to Egypt to worship. Remember, back even in the biblical times, the Israelites, they were scattered all over the place. But people don't want to tell you that. They don't want to tell you that. This Ethiopian man came to his homeland to worship his Hebrew religion. An Ethiopian. And I don't got to go by how he look. Because everybody know how Ethiopian look. You just get on YouTube and say, "Let me see an Ethiopian." You got that. Dark. The Bible full of dark people. But nobody ever tell us that. They'll never tell you that. This is coming from Matthew chapter 2, verse 13 and 15. And this is my main scripture right here. This is the main about Jesus now. This is about Jesus. After they left, an angel of the Lord came to Joseph in a dream and said, "Get up." He got an exclamation point right there. So that angel has some excitement. Get up. Take the child and his mother and escape to Egypt. Wait, he didn't say walk. He didn't say go there for a vacation. He didn't go say to visit your brother, sister. No, he said escape, run, flee, hide. That would escape mean. Escape mean you run for your life. You fleeing. So if he escaping to Egypt for his life, how did he have to look to fit in with those Egyptians? And we saw how the Egyptians looked. He escaping. He running for his life in Egypt. to hide in Egypt. So how did he have to look? He had to look like them Egyptians if he's going to hide, because Herod is starting to look for the child so he can kill him. If he didn't look like those Egyptians, Herod would have known. Somebody would have told Herod, here's a child in Egypt. He don't look like the Egyptians. Herod would say, kill him. Stay in Egypt until I tell you to return. So the angel says, stay in Egypt until I say leave. We don't know how long he was there. 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, 5 years. We don't know. But the angel said, don't leave until I tell you to. And I think he stayed there until Herod died. So that's several years. He lived in Egypt. He hid in Egypt. Criminals today in any country, when they commit a crime, when they want to hide, they go hide around people who look like them. I don't care if they pink, green, yellow, red. They want to hide around people who look like them. So Joseph got up and left for Egypt during the night with the child and his mother. And Joseph stayed in Egypt until, like I said, Herod died. So I don't know how long that was, 2 or 3, 4 years later. This happened to bring about what the Lord had said through the prophet. I called my son out of Egypt. So God, he put a finger on it. He said, my son was in Egypt, and I told my son to leave Egypt. Egypt was a brown nation, dark nation. That's where my son lived at. So how did my son look? But they don't want to tell you that. Now, here's the crux of it right here. One of the crux that's come from Jesus' mouth. How did he look, and how did those Hebrews look? Listen to this. Nor shall you swear by your head, because you cannot make one hair white or black. I'm going to say it again. You cannot make one hair white or black. So what color did those Hebrews have if you wasn't elderly? If you was elderly, you had white hair. If you 20, 30, 40, 10, 5, you had black hair. Not that brown hair that we see the Hollywood like to show coming out of Jesus' mouth. Jesus said the Hebrews had black hair. Not tan, not brown, not blonde, not red. The Hebrews had black hair. And which people on the planet in that region have black hair? It's a couple of them, but they better have black hair. So that's it. Thank you for stopping by, Heavenly Father. Thank you for this lesson to expound on how the Hebrews probably look. How did Jesus logically look? The people on the television, they don't want to say nothing about that. They don't want to say anything. They don't want to say he lived in Egypt. They don't want to say that. They don't want to say Jesus said the Hebrews had black hair. They don't want to talk about Africa in the Bible. But I thank you for this lesson that we talked about how Jesus probably looked and how the Hebrews looked. Thank you in the name of the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Ghost. If you got some edifications from this lesson, give me a thumbs up. If you got any comments, leave a comment. If you'd like to subscribe, please subscribe. Until the next time, peace.